Hi everybody, I'm Ryan Green and this is your Daily Fill. Today we're talking about The Lord of the Rings. Mm, love The Lord of the Rings. We're going to talk about the characters, the story, and Middle-earth as a whole, and why it's just fucking awesome. Are you ready? Let's go. First things first, the story. The story in The Lord of the Rings is so rich and engrossing. There's so much history, there's so much drama and conflict. It's just fantastic. It starts off 2,500 years ago when the Dark Lord Sauron, the evilest guy of them all, he makes all these powerful rings that just lay claim to the minds of whoever holds them. And he makes this one powerful ring that can literally rule them all. That's like the slogan of the Lord of the Rings. One ring to rule them all. And so the men of the West and the elves and even the dwarfs, I guess, they all band together and they go and try and kick Sauron's ass. And they go up to Mount Doom, this big crack in the ground, just explosive, and they kick Sauron's ass. And they got him right down to the middle, and Isildur, son of the king of Gondor, he takes the ring, and Elrond, leader of the elves, says, "Throw it into the fire! Throw it away!" And Isildur's like, "No." And Elrond's like, "Oh my gosh, what are you doing, man? What are you doing?" And so some time went by, and Isildur gets freaking murdered by orcs on a just like routine expedition. Isildur gets murdered, and the ring falls into a river. Climactic, I know, and it sits there for 2,500 years. That's the basis of the story of the Lord of the Rings. So next up, we have the characters, and the characters give heart. They give courage. They give tenacity to this whole epic story. You got the four hobbits, Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin. You got Strider or Aragorn, who is the king to be of Gondor, which is a long ridden line of of it's a lineage that hasn't been provoked in thousands of years, and Aragorn is the heir. Then you have Legolas, the badass elf, who's just like Shaka da Saisa, whoosh, freaking ninja. You got Gimli, this cranky old little dwarf who becomes really good friends with Legolas, which is funny because dwarfs and elves in the lore fucking hate each other. You have Boromir, who's the son of Denethor, the steward of Gondor. He's kind of like the substitute teacher because the main teacher's like out smoking crack or something, and they needed a substitute. And Boromir's his son. And Boromir has a lot of he's a noble character, but he gets seduced by the ring, and he tries to take it from Frodo, who is the ring bearer. And Boromir ends up getting killed in an epic but just very very sad fashion. And there's a great score by Howard Shore throughout the series, but in that case particularly, it's really sad and it's nice. And then to top it all off, the best character ever is Gandalf. And Gandalf is kind of like the Obi-Wan Kenobi of the series. He's this older, wise wizard. And I think Gandalf becomes a bit too soft-hearted and just kind of merry near the end of the series, but the first movie in particular, he's such a badass. He's like this old wise guy. He's just like, never put it on Frodo. The enemy is always looking for it. And he's just such a badass. And like and the saddest moment in like any film with score with just epic proportions. Gandalf sitting there in front of the Balrog, and he's like, "You shall not pass!" Oh, and he stabs the bridge, and the Balrog falls into the pit of fucking doom, and he whoosh, whips his whip up into the air and catches Gandalf, and Gandalf's like whoosh, and he's hanging on. He's like, "Fly, you fools!" Whoosh, and he lets go, and he's like, "Ah!" And Frodo's like, "No!" And like the saddest piece of music I've ever heard is just it's fantastic. And Gandalf comes back as the White Wizard because Saruman, he was the head of the Wizard Order, he turned to the dark side essentially, and he joined Sauron, which is a really like lame play on the names. But anyways, lastly but not least, my favorite part is Middle Earth as a whole. Middle Earth, to me, it's the most grounded, real life fantasy setting ever. There's all these different like fictional things going on. There's powerful rings, there's dark lords, there's orcs, there's dwarfs, and there's a bunch of like fantasy shit going on, but it all feels so real. Like like if there was such things as aliens like in real life, what that would look like that wouldn't even be fiction then, It'd be nonfiction. And everything in the Lord of the Rings feels very grounded. It feels very real, like it could actually be there, and I love it. But my favorite part, and this is more so in the books, but it's represented and shown very well in the movies, and that's just the whole scenery, the whole scape, or scope, I should say, of Middle Earth. It feels like it's this conglomerate of countryside and meadows and these huge mountains and these mines, and like whenever someone says like up north, you get the sense that there's like a land up there where like people and different like things exist, and there's just different like forestry and just a bunch of shit like that. You feel that Middle Earth is this huge and vast, but very like this ancient land with depth to it all around. Whether that's the Shire, whether that's Rivendell and Dunland, even far east in Harad, which is like a big desert where all these like kind of like Tusken Raider like people live. You actually see them in Return of the King, and they bring their big freaking elephants. It's great. And then you have Mordor. Mordor's hilarious because think of like a James Bond movie where the villain has like this big castle on like the North Pole. Like Mordor is like that, but literally it's basically there's mountains like this. There's covering it around. You have I forget what it's called, but you have Mount Doom. You have Mount Doom in the center, and it's just spewing out lava. You have Barad-dûr, which is this big tower where like the Eye of Sauron sits on, and then the whole land is just like ash. You can't even breathe. It's just it's like a nuke went off. And I love how that like it's like you couldn't put that there just to be funny. It's almost like it just ended up being like that, and we just play on it because we're comparing good and evil. It's awesome. And then you have like there's these huge like citadels like Minas Tirith. Minas Tirith is like this huge castle just carved into the mountain. It's like 200 stories tall. It's freaking awesome. And in front of it you have the Pelennor Fields where the battle for Middle Earth takes place. And Sauron brings every one of his buddies from the gym, and they're gonna go kick his ass, but Rohan shows up and they run him all over. It's freaking awesome. And then, yeah, Middle Earth is just beautiful, Maybe it's just the way the books were written, just the way that Tolkien described, like the banks and just the woods, and just like you got this sense that the weather had a huge effect of what they were doing, because he would always premise the circumstances, like whether the wind was blowing in the west or the east, or if the sun was down or up. And you felt grounded in that atmosphere. And then when it comes to the movies, they actually went to New Zealand and they filmed everything, and that's just freaking awesome because there's actual mountains, there's actual shit going on, and it all just immerses you in this great freaking epic that is Lord of the Rings. It's fantastic. And so that's the Lord of the Rings. It's probably my favorite series, my favorite trilogy. They're my favorite books, my favorite movies. I just think that critically and just aesthetically in all regards, they're just fantastic pieces in books, in movies. There's even some good video games, and it's just something that I've always felt immersed in and connected to, and is always going to be a timeless classic to me and lots of other people. It's just great. And so that's the daily fix, or fill, whatever you want to call it. And that's pretty much it. Stay tuned for more, and I hope you have a good day. Cheers.